Hello to all of you. Wonderful to have you online. I'm really excited about our webinar tonight. I did a webinar. Jeez, I've done too much talking already. I was on Cape Talk last night, and I've just been in a whole bunch of interviews this afternoon. And I keep getting asked around what is the concept of wealth. And what I find so interesting is that people always think that wealth is money. And yet wealth for me is so much bigger. And one of the best definitions I ever heard was that wealth is what you have when you have no money. However, why I'm excited about tonight is that, they always say that 80% of success is psychology and only 20% is execution. So it's all about the body, the mind, and who you are. And I'm really, really excited to be inviting Dr. Anthony Fantonda to take us through what it is that he's been studying, and really it's been a life's journey in terms of where you're at. And I'm really excited to hear it. So it's awesome to have you online.
Cool, it's great to be here, guys. Thanks.
And from your side, Lee, thank you very much as always for organizing. It's awesome to thank you for making sure it all happens so that we can be sharing with our community. And like I said, you're adding value in terms of what we're doing. Now, just before I do, I have to boast quickly because I am in Cape Town and I want to share with you my view, which is I'm having an outdoor webinar.
Unfair play, Scotty. Unfair play.
So while you're talking, I will be watching the sun go down over the V&A waterfront. But my one request is, if it does get a little bit noisy, just tell me to mute myself, because as I say that, a train's going past. But it's just such a nice evening, I can't afford not to be outside. So, okay, let's rock and roll. I want to just give you some context of why we wanted to do this webinar. We talk a lot around the principles of Wealth 5.0. I don't have time tonight to go into all the details, but in simple terms, it's where the world is moving to now, and specifically in the space of wealth. And there's 5 different paradigms to it. The first one is your impact. The second one is your creativity. The third one is your high touch. The fourth one is your high tech. And the fifth one is your digital. And if you followed us and our community for a while, you'll actually notice that each time we're trying to address one of the areas. And so tonight is all around the high touch component. It's all around your human skills. It's all around your people skills. It's about being able to influence not only yourself, but others. And whether it's body language or understanding their needs, it becomes critically important. And so if you want to have high touch and ultimately influence and add value to people's lives, then this is what we're focusing on tonight, and why we've got such an esteemed speaker to speak in this. The other thing that I think is important is that people always say to us, you help people invest in property. Why do you go to all this extent around education? And the bottom line is there's been a massive growth in online education. And also there's been massive adoption. Whereas when you look over here at the growth side of online investing, there's been large growth, but not massive adoption. And where the world is going, the currency of the new economy is all around trust. And it's that trust, by marrying together online education with online investing, that we'll be able to dramatically increase the trust and ultimately the adoption for people. And so that is why we do what we do. And as just to visually be able to see it, is that years ago we launched the platform that allowed people to invest, and that's why it's in green. And in the last now 18 months, we've been very much building out the WealthE University and bringing experts in different areas, to people so that they could consistently learn and grow and understand. Now, I wanted to share with you, and I've been sharing with this with a number of people. There's 6 things that investors need. The first is the belief that it's possible. The second is the knowledge. The third is the access and the investment. The fourth is the system. The fifth is the support and accountability. This is that they need results, which ultimately, should be, wealth and freedom for them. And why I'm bringing this up is that, again, tonight, the reason for this webinar is we're actually focusing on the first 2, because it's all around the belief and it's around the knowledge. Have those, and this is the mistake that we made in the beginning. I certainly made myself, was that I thought I'll just help people invest in property. But what I realized was that unless they've got the belief and unless they've got the knowledge, we're wasting our time, which is why we spend so much time on the psychology of success. The other thing I wanted to share with you was that I don't have time tonight to go into it, and tonight's session is not about me. But I did share for our inner circle a whole session where I'd done the Tony Robbins leadership program and some of the core lessons, and I just wanted to repeat a few of them. So the question that we always ask people, why do most people fail? And they often say time and money and a whole bunch of skills and everything else, but actually it comes down to resources. They don't have the resources. And so when one looks at it, what's the most important element of a leader? Now remember, we're all leaders. Whether you're a one-man band, you need to lead yourself. Whether you're a parent, you need to lead your children. And whether you're in business, you might be a leader. But the most important element of a leader is resourcefulness, which ultimately is the ability to think out the box, to get stuff done, to use the resources that you've got. And when one looks at what's the most important resource that every human has, and that specifically we have as leaders, it's ultimately human emotion. And so you can see now how this is tying so much back to the individual, who you are, what are your people skills, how do you interact with other people, which is why tonight is I'm so excited about it. So for me, when one looks at it from a leadership perspective, leaders are the agents of change. And I've already said this, but I want you to be able to see it on the screen. 80% of success is the psychology, it's the why, and only 20% is the mechanics. And then ultimately, it's about having a sequence to creating a lasting change. And what's important is that with your state, okay, your state is who you are as a human being. You firstly have to work on yourself, then you can work on others around you, and finally you can work on your world. And again, for those that are in a circle, we spoke a lot about this triad, and ultimately you've got your physiology, how you move, you've got your focus, and you've got your empowering meanings. And we've all got needs, etc. So these are things that you can literally do to enhance your state and to understand your needs and others' needs, etc., etc. And the final thing that I want to share before I hand over, which I love so much, is that when one looks at the belief cycle of success, we all have potential. And really, depending on our belief will depend on how much potential we've actually got, and ultimately how much action we take, which will lead to our results. Now, if we've got a good belief, we're going to have more potential, we're going to take big action, we're going to get big results. That'll lead to even more belief, and it's an upward spiral. Whereas if we've got low belief, it's going to lead to low potential, it's going to mean small or no action, and ultimately it's going to low or no results. And that, for me, is so critical, and why we spend so much time in the education space. I will talk about this later when Dr. Anthony's finished, but we do have events around the country, which are in South Africa on the 16th of March in Durban, the 17th of March in Cape Town, the 18th of March in Johannesburg, and the 19th of March in Pretoria. You can see the link below there if you're interested, and Lee can put it in the chat box. And ultimately for us, this is about the how to actually invest overseas and to build a passive income using property and technology. It's a practical session. It's a theoretical session before the tea break, a practical session after the tea break. We want people to be able to walk away with a plan. But without further ado, I wanted to move over, because one of the big takeaways I had from that whole leadership conference I went on is, are you an agent of change? Do you have the ability to manage your own human emotion? Do you have the ability to manage others' human emotion? Do you have the ability to influence yourself? Do you have the ability to influence others? And I was fascinated when Dr. Anthony and myself were talking just a couple of weeks ago. I went up to their office in Pretoria, and I sat down and learned about what he's doing. And I went and looked at his LinkedIn profile, and I encourage all of you to do that. And what I found most interesting was when I looked at his profile closely, I saw this, which is that he had a PhD in leadership and management, personality psychology, and that he had cum laude that. And this for me fascinated me, because I didn't know there was actually such a thing. And without further ado, I wanted to hand over to you, because when I saw that and when we discussed it, I was like, oh, how about you on a webinar so that we can share these skills and knowledge of all this sort of very deep personal, I don't know what you call it, personal development areas that you're playing in. And so, without further ado, I wanted to welcome you. I'd love to know, before you get into your PowerPoints and everything, I'd love to know just your story, unless you've actually got your story on your PowerPoints, so that people can understand. And the other thing I want to say just before I hand over the mic is that if you are interested in in what he's talking. The company that we work with is which he's CEO is MyWealth, the MyWealth Method, and they've got a summit in Johannesburg on the there the dates are the 6th, 7th, and 8th of March,
6, 7, 8.
and Cape Town I think is a week later basically, and I'll talk again about that at the end. But just in case you're wondering if you want to get more in terms of what he's talking about. But Dr. Anthony, I wanted to hand over to you. I hope you don't mind me calling you Dr. Anthony, but I can't, I don't, it's too long to say everything all at the same time. But yeah, it's awesome to have you online. And let me share my screen over with you. While I do, what is your story, or do you cover that in your slides?
No, I'll have to just speak up straight with that there, Scotty. Have you already set the share screen? Let's get that side.
Coming over to you now.
Okay, share my screen. Cool. And we're going there. Scott, from my side, I'd just like to give you a little bit of background in terms of my background is retail. I work with people and I got results through people. I was divisional operations manager for the largest retailer in South Africa, and that was the Edcon Group at the time. Today they're battling. And I can tell you that the results I had was because of my ability to get results through the people and using their skills. You know, having a PhD means nothing in life. I'll be honest with you, that's permanently hungry and drunk as far as I'm cared. Because logic is you can have the knowledge, but it's all about applied knowledge. If you cannot take that knowledge and apply it, you're actually wasting your time. I have met many people with degrees with great acumen behind them, but they cannot put it to work. So application is key. And tonight is going to be about the application of yourself as an individual in terms of people skills. After retail, I can tell you that I have been a CEO, a coach to CEOs of companies, helping them accelerate their results. And mostly what I did was help them get to the next level through who they are, because I believe every person needs to maximize themselves, because we all have a kind of behavioral style. Just to check, can you see my screen in terms of where I'm going?
I can see your screen. I just want you to maximize it because I'm seeing your whole screen. So
Yep.
I just want the PowerPoint to, there we are, perfect. Now the PowerPoint's in presentation.
Perfect. All right, fixed that. Right, so, and then just to take it from there is that the reason I got with MyWealth is that because of my background of accelerating companies, helping them make money. I'm myself a director of 5 of my own companies, but when I met these 2 young guys, Carlo De Camara and Charles Katsia, I was fascinated, as young as they are, with the acumen of business management. And the one is brilliant at connecting and outsourcing, and the other one's brilliant at putting systems in place. And that's how I ended up, because they just needed some guidance in terms of bringing your, because I've got a strategic thrust of helping companies. How do you look 10 years ahead, roll it back, reverse engineer it, and get results? But ultimately, the result is through strengthening your people skills. If you know how to take yourself into the game through who you are, you will get results. I will be touching on some body language tonight, in terms of what it looks like, what it sounds like, and some tips of how you can associate with people before even just chatting to them, by just standing and observing them. Then I really believe that once we get the crux of this, that you can enhance every aspect of your life, and then ultimately take your business to another level. For me, that's really what we are talking about tonight. So getting straight into it, I'd like you to understand that people speak about what is your personality. Well, they actually ever got it wrong. Personality is only 10% of who you are. The truth is, everything of who you are really is behavior, but it's made up out of, firstly, temperament and character and personality. Let me explain that. You and I live in our character block virtually 70% of our life. This is who you are at work. This is how you've learned to adapt. This is how you've learned to manage everyday life. But 20% of the time, when I put you under pressure, that real you comes out, and that's called temperament. Now, in your work scenario, you can be Mr. Nice Guy all the time. People can know how to associate with you. They're happy, aspire to work with you, and all of a sudden, you get a pressurized situation, or somebody puts stress into your life, and you become this bulldog, and people just don't understand, who are you? It's because of their temperament. Also, conversely, you get the other guy that can interlude, can communicate, but the moment it's under pressure, it's like, hey, where's person A? He just disappeared, or she just disappeared. And that's one of the things that happens, because under pressure, we both basically either react or respond. So in your temperament block, where we spend 20% of the time, purely because we are pressurized, The one guy will, like Scott, you and I, we are reactors. You know, we immediately react. We don't even ask a question. Action happens before we even think about it. But the people, other kind of people respond rather in terms of, you know, why did you do that? Or why did you say that? And they will ask questions and they'll be a little bit procrastinative in nature in terms of before they take action. Personality comes from the word persona, and it really comes from the word in Latin that it means mask. 10% of the time, you and I put a mask on. You know, when I meet you the first time, I put on my big smile, wearing my nice jacket, my nice pointy shoes, and you're like, oh, okay. But then again, the moment we take the gloves off and you realize clothing doesn't make the man, it just can literally put a persona forward. You know, I can wear a happy mask and be smiling all the time. I can wear a mask and I'll be sour all the time. Now, 8% of people believe they get control in life by being totally upset all the time. I don't know if you've met some people like that, but they're always upset. You know, there's a bumper sticker that's made for some of those saying, when mommy ain't happy, no one ain't happy. That's those kind of people. But to take this into application is that if we spend 70% of our time into character, 20% in temperament, and then 10% in personality, is it naturally adapted? There you can see temperament, your natural behavior. That's your DNA. It's the way that you were born. It's called born in behavior because it naturally is how you would either react or respond to a situation. If we get to character, that's both natural and adaptive. So now I've got one foot in terms of when you put me under a little bit of pressure, my character gets tweaked towards who I really am when I'm under pressure. And then the other side of where I've just adapted to cope with life. Personality literally is the ability to become another person, to go into their world, to act like them, to speak like them, and it comes out in your behavior. Now, certain people are blessed with that. That's called an actor. Now, I hate people who live a life of acting around me. I want the real deal. I want people to be who they are and be the real you. So this is in fact, my PhD is based on what you see right here in front of you, and that is that people get flummoxed in terms of not understanding our temperament, our character, and our personality really dispenses into behavior. And your behavior, as it were, is like a pendulum. Now, we all understand how a pendulum is. You know, you can pendulum left, you can pendulum right, but we always sort of hang in the middle. But it's when you oscillate left and right badly that people don't know how to take you. And that is why, when it comes to people skills tonight, I'm going to help you understand why it is that some people, when they literally call it, when things go badly for them, why do they hook out? Why do they go to the level where you say to yourself, I don't recognize you? It's because you don't know who they become under temperament. So that's just a bit of an introduction to understand that plays a role. So I'm going to use this foundation to take you to the next level. The first thing being that some people are either purpose or task driven against people that are people or relationship driven. So purpose and task, you can't help it. You want to do things. It is natural. Be it you want to do a lot of things fast, or be it you want to work on one thing succinctly and slowly and with quality. Those are both task driven things because, in fact, people are in your way. When we come to the people and relationship side, we understand that those people love to be in relationships. A lot of people like to be with a lot of people, where there's noise, where there's fun, and other guys like to be in a relationship one-on-one because loyalty is important to them. It's also driven by the left side. You can see here, introverts and slow-paced. Some people are naturally introverts and therefore they are slow-paced in what they do. And then conversely, you get extroverted and fast-paced. Now, let's put this in relation to purpose and task-driven. If you're an extrovert, it means you can do your task fast-paced. You'll be doing your job fast. You won't even have to think about it, second nature. As opposed to, if you see on the left-hand side, it says introverts and slow-paced, that means that that person will perform their task slowly because they want to have quality. At the bottom, you see people. So again, if you're an extrovert, a lot of people, extrovert, a lot of noise, and then on the left-hand bottom side would be people who are slow-paced or introverts. They like to have a one-on-one relationship. So that's the foundation. And this is referred to as dominant, influence, supporter, and compliant. This is the model I took from William Marston from 1928. I've just made it more practical. There are fancy names in the market that the D that is dominant is actually a choleric. The I for influence is actually a sanguine. Your S for supporter is your phlegmatic, and the C for compliant is your melancholy. You get two kind of melancholies. You get an artistic one and you get an analytical one. So I'm just going to take and give you a little bit of a closer look that you first understand. First, ask yourself the question tonight. Am I introvert or extrovert? If you say, well, I'm not sure, go back to what I discussed to you about temperament. What happens to you when I put you under pressure? Do you literally go into your shell and become more quiet and reserved? That makes you an introvert. Or do you come out blazing, guns firing? Well, then you're an extrovert. So you have to make a decision. You're either an extrovert or an introvert. So choose. Then make the choice. Are you people orientated or task and purpose orientated? Very easy to understand that. If you're people orientated, you love to be with people. If it's task, people get in your way because you want to complete things fast. A closer description is that you'll see that a dominant person, they are driven by results and challenge. In fact, if they can't produce results, they get bored. In fact, these people are highly impatient of nature, and they thrive on a challenge. If you tell a dominant person that in this category, it cannot be done, they say, excuse me. It's like, if there's a fire, they say to you, where do you want a door? They'll make a door for you. When you get to the person of influence, they thrive and basically on recognition and approval. They want to be recognized publicly. They want you to recognize them on platforms. They want you to know that they're there. They've arrived. They normally make a grandiose entrance. There's noise, there's big smiles, there's handshakes with people. They really are very charismatic in the way they do it, but they want you quietly to approve of them because they want to be liked. In fact, there's a little underwritten rule that says, please like me. Then when I move to the supporter or the phlegmatic, these are relationship people, but they want to be appreciated. Now, you may have somebody that's in a great relationship with you that is the supporter kind. They cook for you, they make food for you, they serve you. Normally the people like to serve on this category, but boy, if you don't drop that word, I appreciate you, you're in trouble. They want you to talk about appreciation. They want you to show it. And don't just say it and mouth it off. They will see that you are false in a split second because they know when you are genuine and when you are not. In fact, people will always find somebody to go and talk to, problems-wise. That's the person they go to. These people just sort of absorb the pressure of other people. And then last, we get the compliance guy. This person is all about excellence and quality. They can't help it. They sometimes will be late on a task or on a project because they want to produce it with excellence. To them, it's important to do things well. Quality is only worth that they understand. There's no second best. Here's a problem, though. They can become so perfectionistic that other people feel they can never, ever live up to their standards. Here's a little bit of a tip. If that is you, we call this retentive anal. Sorry, pardon my French, but that's exactly what it is. You can be such a perfectionist that other people think they will never get it right. Can you chill a bit? Because when it's 80% is good enough, that's your 80%. That means it's already the other person's 100 or 110%. They just cannot do better. But you being a perfectionist always go like, it could have been a different shade. It could have been a bit better. And I say that with much respect. So watch out that this does not trip you up. So here we understand that. But now what I'm going to do, yeah.
Can I just chuck something in there because it's a tip I was given years ago that I had to take to heart. A lot of people always want to try and do everything themselves, and they find it really hard to delegate. And someone, Chet Holmes, said to me years ago, he said, no one's ever going to do it exactly as good as you want to do it, but it's better that someone does a 70% task than you do 100% of nothing. And it's just an interesting 100%. Mindset, just to back up what you're saying, that you almost have to accept that we're all different and they won't necessarily do it to your standard or whatever your standard is. But equally, if you try to do everything, then you can't do anything.
Scotty, that is brilliant. I mean, that is just, and if you think about it, especially people in leadership position can make or break another individual by being too perfectionistic. I mean, you can rob that person of a future or a career because it's just never good enough. I've got a bit of a saying that says that perfectionism is of the flesh, but excellence is of the spirit. Some guys will work that one out, but gives you a bit of a tip. There's a good side to it. Okay, so a bit of a closer description. A dominant person is a driver. They're decisive and they're dominant. You don't have to ask them to be dominant. They just naturally are, but they can be overbearing. But here's the good part. put them under pressure. They can make a decision fast. It's either yes or no. You like to have a guy like this around when you have got a boardroom table going around and around and nobody can make a decision. This dude will just come to you, boom, there it is. Yes, move. And what's nice, even if they are wrong, they will live by the decision. They will make sure that they make it work. So they've got that driving personality. When you look at the influencer person, they're very impressive. They always come through as very inspirational. They inspire others. Now, hold on. Inspiration is positive and negative. Inspiration is saying that people love to follow you. Now, you have got some leaders who abuse their power, being inspirational because they know they can. They take people down the garden path, the incorrect way, because they are people of influence, because that influence can be a negative influence. But they normally are impressive. When they speak, they stand out, they're charismatic, and you tend to notice them first, especially when they come into a room. When I get to the supporters, now this is what I call salt of the earth people. They're steady, they're stable, and they're supportive. These are the kind of people that you want to hang around when things have to be done, where people have to care for others. The little things that Scott, that you and I don't even see sometimes. These people pick up behind the pieces behind us going like, oh, one day they're going to become human. It's just a fact because we get to things fast. And then when you get the last person, this is our cautious, compliant, and critical thinker. The compliant person is very analytical of nature. Now, remember I said on earlier, there's two kind of people here. The one is analytical and the one is artistic. Hey, don't hear me wrong. I didn't say autistic. I said artistic, all right? Artist. They sometimes hear incorrectly because they so want to get it right. So here's a basic description now of understanding that you've got these behavioral styles. And the truth is, most of us are a combination of two. If you take yourself, Scott, you're a DI or an ID, depending on the situation. I mean, when you have to lead a team, your dominance will come out and you'll say, this is where we're going, move. But when you're more relaxed, the fun part comes out, you're a bit of a party animal, and yeah, you can make a lot of noise. I'm in the same category. So that's who we are.
I
Now,
don't make a lot of
understanding
noise.
that.
What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. So obviously now understanding a bit in terms of the description of who we are, I'm going to just now, because you are in the asset game, this is all about our human behavior. Now, you spoke about emotion. We do understand with EQ, if we look at these four, what is emotional quotient? It really is the ability to control yourself. Here's the truth. You're looking at the extrovert guys, the dominant and influence, they tend to sometimes suffer with a low EQ. Why? They lose control too fast unnecessarily. Now, do they always remain that way? Here's the good news. Because you become aware of it, you can start growing out of it because you can really curtail and control yourself and grow into the area of getting a higher emotional quotient. In fact, I can tell you, I've met a few people in my life before where at first, I mean, the guy's like a bulldog in a corner, man. He just can get nothing wrong. But until somebody lovingly confronts and says, are you aware? You are like a pit bull. And when we see you, we just want to run, man. And the guy says, you're not kidding me. Then you're able to help the person in that way. The emotional quotient gets lifted over a period of time. So there's hope for people like me. I mean, I had to really learn this category. I mean, for those who see my photograph, is that my hair is already perpendicular. I mean, that's why already when people see me, it just raises some questions. So let's go next level. In understanding this, you already know the foundation. There you've got it. There's some other people, like, people refer to a lot of people in the Bible. Paul was a high driving dominant character. You got Peter, man of influence. He'd stand, he was an orator. He could stand and talk anywhere in the world. You got Abram. Abram literally was the guy that built the nation. And then Moses, well, this is the dude that looked after the laws in the Bible. And the interesting thing was, I mean, if he wasn't meticulous, you could have said, listen, China, there's 10 rules here. I tell you what, if he was a D, he would have said, let's focus number 1 and 3. No, not for the compliant guy. He'll say number 1, number 2, number 3. And they will extensively look into up to 10. Interesting. Here are some of the people like Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey, and Dr. Phil. They are dominant people. When they walk in, you know that they're there. They just have a presence. That's one of the things of a dominant person. They've got a presence. Now, when you're about to go and do business with an individual, there's a specific way that you and I have to handle these people. Otherwise, we immediately will clash. And the truth is, when two dominant people walk into the room, there's always this sizing up. Immediately, you can feel the tension of because they both want to be in control. So you feed it with these stronger people. When I look at just one or two examples of high eyes, Will Smith, Jim Carrey, party animals, they really love to have people around them to have a lot of fun, and so they continue. In the supporter side, people like Gandhi, people like Mother Teresa, Dolly Parton, people who really have got the caring, nurturing, and they stand for goodness and nurturing in a sense. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is why I put the dude up last, Keanu Reeves. You think to yourself, no. This guy is John Wick. John Wick is in that dominant corner there on top. But you know what? He is an actor. Now, remember when I spoke about temperament, character, and personality? This dude is an actor. That's why he moves and looks like he is a John Wick in the dominant corner. But the moment he's at home, he's been married for years. He's one of the few actors that is still with his wife. Why? He is an S. S's are loyal. I can tell you now that if your wife's in this department of loyalty, remember she wants to be appreciated, she is loyal to the bone. But don't abuse that, because they deserve to be treated best. And then in your C category, people like Hillary Clinton, Nicole Kidman, Hemingway, and Whitney Houston. These are kind of people that were very compliant and wanted to do things right. When we take Whitney Houston, just her singing career, she was in front of the music. Now, she's an artistic compliant. Remember, there was analytical, but the artistic side of Whitney Houston that brings out that artist side in you. So, guys, that's just a brief description of people in society. What I want you to do in your mind is start thinking about the people around you. Because first you want to think about the people around you, and then you want to associate with the client that comes in towards you and say, where do I place them? Because I'm not going to be moving to what do we do when we see these kind of people? How do we do business with them? Well, just one or two things you want to see in terms of their strengths. Here we have the strength, and then I'm going to pause a bit and say, right, how does this go into business? You can read for yourself. They get things done. They're very persistent. They take charge and accept challenges. Quick decision makers, like I said, always solving practical problems, self-reliant and hardworking. So if that is you, that's another word for a workaholic, by the way. You just cannot help yourself. You love working. You like to be busy. Now, when it comes to this kind of client, if in the market you hit this compliant person, the driver, as that person walks towards you, you have to understand it's all about wanting to be in control. So if you want to do business with them, instead of you jumping on them and wanting to ram something down their throat, no, you need to know how to ask questions so that they can feel that they are in control. So there's your key. Ask questions. And I always say the answer is in the question. That's how you get next level. Let me just take that one back. When we look at the influencer, that person, very personable, optimistic, always verbally articulate. I mean, they can talk. They can talk a hind leg of a donkey. Some people learn to do that. I can tell you, you find it hard. I hated speaking in public, but you can learn to project yourself into this category. They're normally highly enthusiastic. They make a good impression, persuasive, outgoing, and friendly. Now, what happens when your client comes in and you can see they wear branded clothing? Here's a tip. If the lady walks in with a Gucci handbag, if you can see the guys wearing branded Pringle, what have you, Pringle can be either the compliant person or it can be in this category of the influencer, but branded clothing is normally a dead giveaway of the person being in this category. So how do you do business? They like fun. They like to know who's who. They want to know which other important person is around. So you associate with them through whom they have met. And by the way, it's a very easy way to understand when you're in the presence of one of these people, especially when you're at a conference. They will do name dropping. Oh, you know, my friend, Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, dude, have you ever sat around a campfire with Robert Kiyosaki? No, you haven't. How can you call him your friend? But you will, because if you've been to one of his conferences, it's your friend, Robert Kiyosaki. So watch out for the guys where everybody's their friend. Then you know they're in that category because they tend to exaggerate when it comes to relationships because they want to be liked. I told you that before. Then, getting here now to the supporter. They're supportive, loyal, consistent, reliable, services oriented, but very good listeners and building great relationships. Now, normally you find the opposite. The person in the top right, who is the driver, needs a person that is a supporter, because someone has to keep a person like me in check in terms of, can you just slow down? Couldn't you see that there was a need? And they help us develop our people skills, because some people just need to be nurtured and cared. Now, if you meet this kind of client, slow down immediately. I'm not going to role model. You speak slower, you lower your voice, but be sincere. Start speaking about, how's your family? Oh my word, you know, last time I saw you, your one dog came from the SPCA. Is he okay? Connect with them on something to do with their family or their animals, because they just love that connecting, because it says you're building a relationship with me. So guys, with this client, you slow down. Remember, when it comes to decision making, they are a bit in the side of procrastinating. So it'll be yes, no, and don't push them too hard. If they say yes immediately, it was only to comfort you. It was only to get you out of their sight. They didn't mean it. But these kind of people, if you take it slowly and you're giving them time to think about it. In fact, if you ask a supporter a question, there will be a momentary silence as they become pensive and think about it. So don't rush them. And then lastly, what do I do there? Yep. Lastly, the compliant people. They by nature, being analytical, self-disciplined, competent, very competent at their work, very precise, diplomatic, loving, quality. So what I would like you to do, if you're on this call today, say to yourself, okay, I think that I'm left and right, or I'm on the right, top and bottom. Choose 3 strengths that stand out for you, and then you'll see if you can just choose the top 3 anywhere on this. It sort of will give you an indication where you're operating in your character area. Because remember, on this one, it's just who you naturally are. So by now, this is your modus operandi of how you operate. Let's bring it back to the kind of clients in terms of who we are. Let's say you have a person that comes in and we want to buy a new property. Now, Scott, this is to help. If you get the driver kind of guy, he or she will respond to the bottom line. When you talk to them, of course, you can see they make good decisions, and they are self-reliant and getting things done. It's that sort of snappy, quick decision thinking kind of people. They want to know what's the bottom line. They don't want all the jargon. They want to know all the history. It's a waste of the time until they ask, because remember, they want to be in control. So give them the bottom line, and here is the biggest tip you can do when it comes to asset creation. They want the better deal. They want to know what's the bargain, what's the best price, so that the guy will even become a little bit rude in pushing for a better price, because that's who they are. When I get to the bottom right now, which is our influencers, or the eyes that you can see, how do you do business with them? Become a little bit more upbeat, be a little bit more excited around them, because they find it difficult to deal with people who are not as co-excited as who they are. They will want to know who's who. They will want to know when it comes to asset acquisitions in Australia, who else that you know bought property in Australia. They want to associate with successful people who bought in specific places, because of who in this organization is doing what I'm doing. Then if I move to the bottom left, which is the supporter again, the phlegmatics or the supportive kind of person, as a client, for them, all about relationship. Man, if you don't take the time to connect with them on a birthday, if you don't take the time to find out about how's their life partner, how the children doing, you're missing the boat. They want you to connect with them and to appreciate that you make time speaking to them on a one-on-one. They'll remain loyal to you. Once you have this client as an asset purchaser, you've got him or her for life. However, you must have this periodic, just pick up the phone and say, how are you coping? What can I help with? Because they want that interaction and connectedness with you. When I get to Mr. and Mrs. Compliant at the top left, the orderly kind, the analytical type, how do you do business with them? Facts and figures. Don't waste your time. If you don't have your fact sheet, say to them, I'll get back to you. If they ask you a question, please don't take a chance and shoot from the hip. You're dead. Because remember, these people are well studied. They would have studied the region, the area, the schools, the transport system. They are ahead of you when it comes to property. You basically are underlining the facts that they already know, and then they make a quality decision in terms of what do they buy. So I hope that is starting to just help you. I just feel that I'm just going to go over the next slide and rather get to the body language side of it. So, Scotty, so far, are we tracking? You can hear me?
Yeah, no, I got you loud and clear.
Perfect. So, guys, on examination, what does it look like? You know, when we look at these 4 behavioral types, when it comes to making a purchase, when it comes to handling change, handling conflict, even to the way they drive, you can start picking up who your client is. Now, imagine you sitting and you're waiting for your client to arrive. Let's go to driving. You're waiting for your client to arrive and you're about to do a deal on, you want to sell them a property. You want to introduce them to buying a medical center, whatever it is. The guy that arrives with a massive, large vehicle, the chances of that person being the driving type is highly likely. They like to drive big cars. Even if they're female, like many South African females will drive a Fortuner. You must know, it's not just because they're soccer mom, they just like driving big cars. The other thing is, in terms of the appointment, if your appointment was 11 o'clock, they will come screeching in at exactly a minute to 11 and then confidently walk in and say, I made it. Because they take pride in pushing the boundary of being just on time. In fact, it's like a little private game they play with themselves. That is your driver. Now, when it comes to your influencer, what we call the sanguine, this person normally is late. Why? They couldn't find their car keys. You know, on the way out, I was like, where's my car keys? Where's my keys? And they get a little bit flustered in terms of, because they're not very good personal self-organizers. Although they dress well, they tend to lose their car keys and what have you. Or they leave they suck at admin. They are really not good at administration. So even if you send them prospectus, don't expect them to have it printed out and ready. It ain't going to be the case. You better have a duplicate copy. Then when you get there, when they will arrive, it's normally a flashy car, and they will be a little bit late because something happened. There's always something, oh, and they forgot to do something, they forgot to pick up something. So if you are in a permanent relationship with this kind of client, over a period of time, you can coach them to get on time, so time is a respect factor between the two of you. When you talk about the driving ability of a person that's in the supporter, caring, and nurturing category, when they drive in, please don't judge them by their car, because they don't care what their car looks like. In fact, when you look into the car, there will be yesterday's tin of food, there'll be a spare jersey there, the car will be cluttered on the inside. They just don't care. The car is not important. To them, it's a mode of transport. So, you know, normally some of those guys have a car with 3 colors, blue, white, and rust. It doesn't matter. But don't underestimate them. They could be loaded and be a great customer. But you have to have your relationship in place. And then the last guy, the meticulous kind of guy, your compliant person, they will arrive in a vehicle that is definitely clean, and they would have washed it themselves. They will drive in and park slowly. They will reverse out, straighten the vehicle, and drive forward again. They will definitely make sure that if they have got screen shields for heat, that those are put up. They'll make sure that the side mirrors are in, that people can't scratch their cars. They like to drive vehicles that are known for safety, like an Volvo or an Audi. So you can see them, but their cars are meticulously clean. That's how you can see. So guys, there you can see by just studying the body language of what people drive and how they drive. So you can see that the extrovert guys, the drivers come in fast. They always drive fast. Whereas the sanguines, the high eyes, the influencers, they'll come in radio blaring, sunroof open, sunglasses. They will look the part. If you look at the supporters, they'll come in slowly, gracefully, but hey, the car might not be the best, but as long as it goes, it goes. And then the person who is in the compliant corner, meticulous, clean, safety orientated, and they make sure that they park that vehicle straight. They will not park skew. They will always reverse back and get it straight into the parking. Scotty, what's the time like? You know, I don't want to bore you here. I'm just,
No, no, no.
this
We're
is
perfectly
second
good.
nature for me.
My business partner just walked in, so I was just letting him know that I'm on the webinar.
Okay, perfect, 100%. Right, so even on the way of walking, how can you recognize this person? The person that is the driver type, they normally walk fast and very direct. They get there straight. And normally the handshake is very firm. They clutch your hand and they forget when they shake the hands of a female to basically turn it down. You crunch that hand and go, oh, geez, I'm sorry, I forgot. It's because you're so focused on the task at hand, you forget that you're actually shaking hands with a human being. Watch that if you are a high D or high driver, that's what you would do, fast walking. How would the influencer walk, the sanguine? Well, they come all over the show, big smiles, waving to the left, waving to the right, checking out, oh, there's like a reflection in the mirror, and they first check themselves in the mirror and check that the eyebrows are fine and the smile is okay and the collar is fine. So they check themselves in the mirror. That's the kind of person that you'll know just by their way of walking. And they'll be weaving between things because they get distracted. In fact, guys in this category sometimes suffer from shiny object syndrome. So if you're doing a business deal, just be sure to know that if you're on a very competitive market, and let's say you're in the townhouses, etc., they will jump at the next shiny thing. So you better make sure that you get that deal closed because they'll jump at the next thing that shines. Then when I get to literally the way of walking of the person that is a supporter or the phlegmatic, well, they take it easy. There's no hurry. In fact, they will be a little bit early. But there's this one thing that you can see a mile away. The moment they see you, they will smile. It's just about like a bit of a sheepish smile, like, hello. It's their trademark. They smile because they are friendly people. Now, it's very easy to see that even walking in a wall, while the supporter is walking, they will look left and right and smile at people that they've never met. It's who they are. Now imagine if there's a relationship, if the husband is a jealous guy, he's driving in the car, his wife is sitting next to him, she's the supporter, she looks to the left and she smiles to the left because there's a dude next to her. And he will say, did you smile? And she's, no, I didn't. And says, you did smile at him, because they can't help themselves smiling because of their way of connecting. How does IC walk? Well, straight to the point. Normally has a little list of everything that has to be done. Like if you have a property, they tend to would have printed out their own prospectus and arrive with highlighted and circled where they actually would like to ask you questions because they're ready and they're prepared. So they'll come straight to the point. And the handshake, well, it's not a big deal. Handshakes are down and get to business. In fact, if you're the driver type, please stay out of their space. They do not like face barking. They don't like you being in their face because they want you to keep your distance. So that's just by the way of walking, the way that they're driving. Gestures. The ID has got specific hand strong gestures. And the difference between the ID, the driver, and the influencer is they will also, because they're also an extrovert, but theirs will be wide open. There'll be a lot of smiling and then head nodding. And that's how you can see the difference in their body language. The S's, well, very minimal movement. They also like to lean back if they're in a conversation. They'll also have their one hand behind their back. They like to fold both their hands, and sometimes you see people standing. It looks like they, in a cricket team, the hands are in front of the wickets. It's just a protective way of standing. And then taking it further, how does the person who's in the compliant department, how would they literally walk and stand? How can you recognize them? That is that they normally may have their arms folded with the one arm up on and then one hand on the chin, sort of in an inquisitive positioning, like, what are they talking about? And they tend to be very pensive. So even this one hand on the chin is there. So what I'm directing here is that with body language, you can see who they are. So that's just to give you a lick and a taste of how body language can take you to the next level. Maybe I want to end off with this and just say, what happens as leaders? When these guys become leaders, what's good about it and what's bad about it? When we speak about are high Ds. They always have a natural sense of being in control because they're natural born leaders. They have a quick sense of what will work, what won't work, and they get a sincere belief in their ability to achieve. They really believe in themselves. Sometimes they can be prideful, but hey, it all depends. If they've calmed down in life, that pride is under control, but it can be a factor. But now what happens as a leader? What do they do incorrectly? They've got the potential when they feel overwhelmed. They can overwhelm less aggressive people. So they see the people that are sort of just in their way and they get aggressive. So they overwhelm these people. So watch out as a leader that you don't become too much. You know, when you're all over people, like a nappy rash, doesn't work. Then when we look at the influencer, what happens to them? Well, they excite and persuade and inspire other people. That's their natural leadership style. They're there to say, we can do this. Let's go for it. They exude charm and entertain, but they lack follow through. Unfortunately, they've got all these ideas, and here's the truth. Today, they've got this brilliant idea. Tomorrow, they've got the next idea. A week later, they've got a third idea, and they would have forgotten about idea number one, forgotten about idea number two, because it's just who they are. So if that is you, you're beautiful people. I mean, you make the world a shiny place. But you've got so many things where you said, I still was going to do A, I was going to do B. Your lack of follow through as a leader, you need someone that can close it for you, especially now when it comes to closing deals. They've got quite a few deals hanging and they believe it. They've got this false belief. We call it false faith or blind faith. When I get to the supporter, as leaders, they're cool, they're calm, they're collective, but they don't make impulsive decisions. Now, sometimes you need a leader that can take a quick decision. Do not bargain on this leadership type to do that. But here's the truth. Long term, this becomes the best leader. Why? They've got connections, they've got relationships, people trust him. This is the leader that can build trust. So when you're in the asset generation market, make sure that you partner with this person as your opposite. Like in your case, Scott, you would do that because these are the people that make people feel loved and wanted and nurtured. And well, what is their advice? They don't often come up with brilliant ideas, but so what? You know, you don't always have to be the most brilliant, sparky person in as far as I'm concerned. So just to understand that they need to literally partner with someone either to their right or to their top right. And then lastly, as leaders, when I look at the high C's, the compliant people, or what we call melancholies, they are really excellent organizers. They organize things and they are not sensitive to people's feelings. Now, let me explain that. Other people will come with this big story, and especially if you're the opposite, the high I or the influencer will come with these massive stories and the drama, and they will sometimes try to even start manipulate things. And these guys will just go, just chill, I'm not buying it, next. And they just have this curt way of dealing it because they don't become sensitive to people's feelings because they are focused on the task at hand because they want excellence. But they also have a deep-seated creativity. Most of these people have got a sense of creativity. Give them something that they can take ownership of, and through their own ideation, they will find results. What is their advice? They only accept quality performance. Well, you know, in this world where nothing is perfect, where they bring the too perfect approach, it really kills relationships. So as a leader, that will be the advice. So let's land this. I'm just going to see. Yeah, that's it. I just want to quickly go back to the very start here and just where I had the DISC. Guys, this is the last thing I want you to see in your mind. It's as basic as asking yourself the question, are you an extrovert or are you an introvert? You're either one of the two. And if you're not sure who, ask yourself, who do I become under pressure? Do I go to the side where I pendulum, where I sort of shrink away? That's more introverted, or do I become more forefront, extroverted? Ask yourself, am I task focused or people focused? And that will help you understand in which quadrant you belong. Because if you're task focused and you do things fast, you're normally an extrovert. If you do things slowly, meticulously, you're more the slow-paced, introverted, compliant person. And then lastly, of course, understanding at the bottom, these are people, that the person that is the influencer is fast-paced with many relationships, getting to places fast, moving, very charismatic, and the supporter, you might not even notice them, but boy, make the best of friends. So Scotty, that was just a taste or a touch on something that I've trained over 2 full days, and I just wanted to just add value, especially in the area of creating assets and understanding that if we understand who we are, and if we understand who other people are, we can literally go next level of serving them best, and even it'll help your business of closing the deal quicker because you know who you're speaking to and how they would like to be addressed. That's me.
Anthony, really appreciate your time. And look, considering I'm very high in compliance, I want to make sure we finish at 8 o'clock. I'm joking.
Scotty, you're funny.
Awesome. It's so interesting for me when I look at team dynamics and like looking at the stuff, and I'm fascinated about building teams and trying to create high-performing teams. And you look at this and you realize where the conflicts lie and where people miss each other. It's just amazing. And
it's crazy.
And I think,
Scott, can you see the difference between a guy that at work can be a certain person, but the moment the pressure's on, he becomes this other person. People go like, "Good golly, who are you?" Can you see the conundrum
that makes a lot of sense, actually. And a couple of real life examples come to mind. So it's really fascinating.
Awesome. Well, thanks, bud. I loved adding value.
It's been really interesting. I really appreciate it. What I want to do is just round it up quickly. I'm just going to steal the screen back if you don't mind.
Yeah, by all means.
And then I'll see if anyone's got any questions, just fire them through, because I just want to wrap things up. And then if we've got questions, if you don't mind, Dr. Anthony, we just stay on if there's any questions.
Sure.
So what we found, and taking DISC into account, often people say to us that getting started and what we do is like drinking from a fire hose. So we now have created the starter pack. It's literally one way to get started. If you're a supporter, you've got someone to actually hold your hand through the process. If you, I'm really seeing, I'm testing what I listened to tonight. If you're compliant, then you've got it all in your different, all the different pieces and system. If you're a dominator, well, you can just make a decision and get started. And if you're an influencer, well, you can join the community and let everyone know how excited you are. What do you think of that, eh?
Fantastic. Well done, bud. Love it.
So anyway, so if you are interested in the starter pack, we've created this. It's $197, and it's literally $100 that goes directly into your wallet. So it's just a way for people to get started. Literally, they can get started, from $100. I did mention the breakfast. You've got the link there in terms of the HTTP link. And if I just go quickly to the site, here it is here. You can see up the top there, the Wealth Breakfast link. You've got it in the chat box. And if you're watching a recording, you can literally just click on the link below. But you can see here what's important is that, like I said to you, the first session before the tea break, so from 8 till 10, is literally the 10 most important things you need to know. Where to invest, what to invest in, how to invest, what do the top 1% do around managing risk, how do you find the right partners, how do you create a plan, how do you have wealth preservation, become a global citizen, even looking at first world, projects. And then I think one of the most important is whether you've got $1 million to invest, you're an institutional investor, or you want to get started from $100. We've got a system that we've helped people from 133 countries already do it. And then after the tea break, it becomes practical. They always say in life you should focus on the why, and then you should get into the how and the what. And the session after the tea break is very practical around how do you actually do it, and what do you do. And we're going to go through the platform, we're going to go through different deals, etc. We've also got a guest that will be joining us live at the breakfast. If people have met him before, Garth Wellman, who's a family office advisor to some of the wealthiest families in the country, and he's going to be dealing with tax, structuring generational wealth, and things that people are really interested in terms of where the world economics are going. So you can go and look at it all here. There's different types of tickets in terms of what you can get, and most importantly, you can go in and choose your different cities in terms of where you're at. Like I did mention, the My Wealth guys have also got events in the 6th, 7th, and 8th of March in Johannesburg, Pretoria, and the following week in Cape Town. So if you are interested, just let us know. Our wealth consultants, be it Alex and Fritz, will be able to reach out to you. just type in their, WC or wealth consultant, type in their breakfast, type in their starter pack, type in their My Wealth, either one of them, or just type in wealth consultant if you don't know what to do. And they can actually reach out to them, or you've got their details and you can reach out to them. I can always, I always say we want to be a digital platform, but with a human heart. And these are the people. It's why we do webinars, so that people can understand what's going on and how to do it. And then the last thing I'm very strongly believe, and I know that Dr. Anthony and the team at My Wealth, this is where we certainly share a very similar belief, is that in life now, it's also about purpose and the impact that you're having on the planet. And for us, we've been, as a community, we've been supporting this young man, Bongi, since 2015. He actually was on an entrepreneurship event, training children in entrepreneurship. And he had just such tenacity and resilience. And we actually crowdfunded him and got him to a private school. And he's now in matric. And I mean, literally this year, he's captain of his school team. He's captain of his provincial team in hockey. He's doing really well at school, and he's on his way next year to go to university to study entrepreneurship. And I always joke with people, there's a very good chance he could be the next Elon Musk. And so, if nothing else, by coming to the events, by participating, etc., you're having a meaningful contribution towards not only Bongi but other people like him. And so, what I'd like to do quickly is that, obviously, one of the things that I just wanted to say, Dr. Anthony, in terms of the presentation you've done, and if anyone's got questions, just fire them through. But one thing I have learned with these things is that there are different types of models, and neither model is right or wrong. They're all actually really interesting. But what is important is to spend some time and to sort of go deep. That whole thing, repetition is the mother of skill. And I think my point being is that if someone expects to watch a webinar in 45 minutes and suddenly have it all down pat, the next time they meet someone, it just doesn't work like that. It really takes time to learn the stuff. But what I did like about what you did was you gave us some very easy cues, like the car they drive, how they arrive, etc. And I think all I wanted to do was point out to people that this is a space I've been absolutely fascinated in for a long time, probably certainly more than 10 years, but probably even closer to 20 years. And yet it's still a space that I struggle to, like, in the moment go, oh, that's a da da da, you know what I mean, and then know how to behave. And so I just wanted to point that out for people that if they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, no issue. It does take time. Let's look at some of the questions here. When I did Doc Anthony's training, I found out I was a C, CD, and DC. Okay, so I understand what you're meaning when you're saying CD, and I don't really understand DC. Do you understand what he's saying, Dr. Anthony?
Yes, he's absolutely task driven, and what happens is that 10 to 1, the way that he manages people, he is a driver compliant. It means he drives them hard, but they have to be correct in the way they do their work. But then he himself is a CD, which means that he holds himself to very high standards. He sometimes will even hold himself back because he wants excellence, and then the driver is not on the forefront. So it oscillates between those two, depending on whether he's the boss or whether he's just doing the work himself.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So I was just wondering what the difference was. So okay, so that makes sense then. So the first one is how you lead others, and the second one is how you lead yourself.
Yeah, quite correct.
Then there's a question here: do people with high EQ and high SQ go further in life than those with just IQ? How does one develop a high EQ and SQ if they get anxious when it comes to interacting with people?
I can tell you that is an absolute yes, because IQ does not necessarily mean that you have the skills, number one, to connect to people. I have met very brilliant people in my life, but they've got a high IQ, but a low EQ, which means that at the moment they're a little bit under pressure, they want to control the situation and they over control the people, and therefore they don't get a result. They just cannot control conflict, for instance. Now, an emotional quotient will always make sure that you learn how to cope with conflict over a period of time, but it's repetition. There's no ways that you walk in day one and suddenly comes guns blazing and you know exactly what to do. But as your EQ grows, number one, you know how to handle it better. Then your FQ comes over a period of time because you have repeatedly studied business acumen. You've learned how to play the cash flow game. You do understand that when you handle money, cash flow is king, and it actually provides the oxygen you need to survive. So those factors by far override the purely score of I've got a high IQ. It's the practical skills related to an increasing your FQ and your EQ.
And just to mention, what does SQ stand for again?
Financial quotient.
No, SQ, S for Scott.
Oh, social. That will be social quotient. That means your ability to interact with people in various communities. I mean, we've got so many different cultures in South Africa. In South Africa, there's been a great adjustment to different social cultures. The SQ is not bad. It's quite natural in South Africa. However, the moment they get to Germany, they go like, they come to France, they don't know what to do because they're so used to the mixture of people in South Africa. But the moment it's outside of the comfort zone, it's a whole new learning curve again.
No, that's brilliant. And, you know, I think, you know, the beauty is that, and again, tell me if I'm wrong. This is a comment and a question. I want to be clear. Is that your IQ is probably something you're born with. It's sort of innate and in your DNA. But the others, you obviously have strengths and weaknesses, but you can work at them and grow them, surely.
Absolutely. I can tell you now that people with coaches, where number one, they make themselves accountable to a coach, can on an ongoing basis improve their EQ from session to session. And because remember, the same as with selling, it's a drill. You repeat your sale, whatever you would like to do. And the same with EQ, you repeat how you're going to handle a situation under pressure. So you can increase your skill over a period of time, but it also helps to have a coach with accountability.
Yeah. No, look, and I think to back you up, I mean, I know you and I feel very strongly about this. I actually said to someone the other day, Ann Wilson, that you know, is a highly successful business lady, and I said to her, I actually just don't understand how anyone operates without a coach. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And you know, again, I always say to people when they go, oh, you know, I don't need a coach, and I go, well, why does every high performance athlete or high performance team have a coach? And think of any team, it doesn't matter who you want to support or which athlete you want to, you know, think of. And you know, why does every, you know, business team and everything else that is high performance have a coach? And then you ask yourself if you want to be high performance, and then you ask yourself why you don't have a coach. it's like so common sense.
Well, take a guy like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods has got a coach. For goodness, I mean, he's one of the best golfers in the world. He's got a coach. I mean, success leaves clues, eh? It definitely does. Scotty, maybe I can just mention that obviously MyWealth has got a product called Networking Success that takes people skills over 28 hours, how to help people build a successful network. But that's for some other time. I didn't even think of marketing and branding anything tonight. I just wanted to serve you, but I'll just mention it.
No, I appreciate it. And like I said, if people are interested, you reach out and the team can help. I mean, one of the things we're wanting to achieve, particularly with the WealthE University, is that it's not all about us. Our whole objective is to be bringing other thoughts, skills, and offerings from different people that can add value to people. You know, so I love that saying that I've heard and said so many times now, that there's so much information out there, but people need direction. And you know, it's a great way of doing it. So just to, what did you call that product?
It's called Networking Success.
Okay. So if people are interested in networking success, just type in their networking success, and we can follow up. So look, I want to just I'll stay online for another minute or so, just if there's any more questions that will come through. I want to ask one last question, and for me, the question sort of lays with what I was trying to say. You've got, you know, decades worth of experience in this, and let's say that an individual is in a situation and trying to figure out who they're dealing with and how to act. Do you have any little tricks that you go back to, like, you know how they always say, you know, any little way that's, like, they call them life hacks, any way that you've like found to like quickly do it, you know, because obviously generally these things happening pretty quickly in terms of, you know, trying to figure out who you're dealing with. And you've given us some, like the car they drive and how they walk and how they shake your hand and stuff, but is there any one that you specifically use that is like your key life hack when you're doing this?
I'll be honest with you. The first thing is I have people do a little questionnaire of 24 questions to determine who they are. I can tell you at the My Wealth Summit, and now I can tell you that I'm specifically doing that with everybody who attends the summit 6, 7, 8 in Joburg, and then in Cape Town 13, 14, 15. I'm going to be doing a 2-hour intense people skills training where they start doing their analysis. So you need to know who you are. Then the second thing is, as you learn about the skills, is to sit in a restaurant with someone else that has skills like I have and start looking at the other people and study the body language and start learning by observing people. That's the quickest way to get ahead. So that when you see it's as really a copycat simulation in life, because people, behavior never lies. Behavior stays the same. And you can see how people behave. And so that is sort of my advice of how I get around training myself. I watch Survivor for fun. I watch the people skills all the time. In terms of, and I predict and project what's going to happen, who's going to partner to, who's going to connect. I mean, because let's talk about communication. Many people communicate, few connect.
Yeah. No, I think that's I think it's probably a beautiful way to end off. Where, you know, I tried to start by saying to people, you know, it's about your ultimately it's about your energy and your thought process that's going to determine your success. 80% of it is your psychology. I spoke about your state and how you can influence your state, and then secondly, once you've influenced yourself, how you influence others. And really, Dr. Anthony, I just wanted to say a huge thank you on behalf of us and our community, because what you've done is then take some of the skills of not only how you can understand yourself better, but also how you can connect with others depending on your sort of strengths and weaknesses. And I think it's so important, because again, if we want to go to the next level, be it in anything, be it in wealth, be it in health, be it as a leader, you know, be it on the sports field, we've actually got to really, you know, take note of these things, because it could be the marginal difference between success and failure. And that's what I love. You know, in any high performance person or team, they're always looking at how can they get the edge, how can they get that little bit better. And so sometimes these things might look like small, you know, advantages and actually not worth the time, and you know, that sort of stuff, but actually it can be the difference between success and failure. And that's what I love about what you shared. And so thank you very much. I learned a lot tonight. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'll just end by saying one thing: if you care enough about people, business will come.
Yep. No, completely agree. And you know, you mentioned tonight, and I know we're both very passionate about this. It's all about adding value, you know, and I love that saying, and I've built the businesses I've built since 2004 on that saying. Literally, you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want, and that lines with what you're saying. You know, if you care about people, you know, stuff will almost take care of itself in terms of where it's at. So, as Dr. Anthony said, if you the My Wealth events are in Johannesburg, 6th, 7th, and 8th of March, and in Cape Town on the, let me do my maths now, 13th, 14th, 15th of March. The wealth breakfasts from our side are just a breakfast, a morning breakfast, where we'll take you through specifically how to invest offshore into property using technology. But really, from all of us, thank you very much for your time. Dr. Anthony, it's been amazing. Really appreciate it. To Lee, thanks for organizing. And to everyone else that's been online tonight, you know, really appreciate your time. You know, hopefully you learned a lot. Last closing comments, Dr. Anthony, from your side.
All I can say is that once you get a little bit to grips with how to recognize who you are and to recognize other people, it sort of unleashes fun in life to say, life is worth it, man. Just enjoy it and go next level and work with people and just improve relationships overall, and we have a better world. Making this world a better place.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. Lee, I'm not sure, I'm not seeing your camera, but I don't know if you're there. I'm sorry, I've only got one screen. I don't have my two screens tonight.
I am here. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and for that very insightful webinar. I think you've given us a lot to think about, Dr. Anthony, and I am sure that we are going to have requests for a more in-depth webinar in the coming months on some of the points that you covered. So I look forward to having you online again with our community. Thanks again for your time and for sharing.
Thanks, guys. Awesome. Pleasure being here. Take care.
It's been wonderful. And at the end of the day, you know, as you walk away from here, just remember that if you want to change the world and and create a better planet. Just like Dr. Anthony said, it starts with you. So that's where the responsibility lies. So anyway, just keep that thought in mind, and well done for being here and learning, and keep progressing, because not only will you influence yourself, but hopefully you can influence many other people. Good night, and thank you very much.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.